let's begin. Um, well, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Andoni, a cloud security advocate for Prowler, and this is our second office hours that I'm MC. And okay, let's start with some news. Let me share the screen. I need to find the screen first to be able to share. Okay, share screen. This one. I went to the spoilers, but it's fine. Okay, so first in the agenda was to show the new docs side, but first I wanted to show something that I think not a lot of people know because we get a lot of questions for that. That is, what are we going to release next? Because we have, that I think everyone knows that in GitHub we have the release page where you can see like what we already released, but apart from our roadmap where you can see like in high level what are we working on, what is next, what is in progress, you can also see in each team what is next in their change logs. So we are going to do a release probably tomorrow or by the end of this week, the 5.13, and you can like pick and take a look on all the cool stuff we are going to release. There is a lot of stuff for all the teams, so I'm not going to read everything, but there is some cool things like the Oracle provider, C5 compliance framework. We already released this that I think we saw it in the previous office hours. In the UI, we have a lot of improvements. They like waste all the face for the UI and modernize a lot of components, also introduce some performance in the build. And in the API, we have one of the most asked features that it was the API key support. So you don't need to keep using the token that it will expire in, I don't remember if it was 30 minutes or something. So you can have like real API tokens. And of course, the first official release of our MCP. And that being said, let me see the chat because I don't know if someone, okay, yeah, okay. You can ask any question at any moment if you want to interrupt, it's fine. See, if not, I will keep talking until I move to our demos. And this is our new page. Okay, this is our new documentation page. It's using Mintlify. It looks like really good. I really prefer it over what we used to have, but we not only migrated from one platform to another, we also did some reorganization. So you can see a more clear landing page where you can go to the different products we have. You can go directly to see like the overview for the new MCP, the features from Lighthouse, and also we reorganize the guides so it's easier to find stuff here. And if you don't want to use our MCP because you have some built-in custom stuff, you also have this, so you can play with it directly. And of course, you can go to the changelog directly, or developer guide, and our socials. But this was the boring part. Let's start with the fun part. Alan, are you ready?
As always. Perfect.
Okay, so go ahead and let's do the first demo of the day.
Okie dokie. Hello, everyone. So let me share my screen. Okay, and there. Here we are at the user profile view. So let's go for the API keys. The API keys are being shown over here in this table. You can see that I already have 2 API keys. I'm going to create more, don't worry. But I have here the amazing API key that we have with the prefix, then the email of the user that created it, then when it was created, the last time it was used, when it's going to expire, and the status. Of course, you can sort by the different keys, and you can also revoke it. So for example, here I can revoke it. I can edit the name. Let's go for it. So your amazing API. Let's put edit. There we go. Everything is in the instant. Let's try to revoke it. Here is telling you that this is an action that can be undone. The API key will be revoked and will no longer work. Okay, you have the data here for the API key you're going to revoke. Do it, and there we go. Now it's revoked. Another thing that we are showing currently is if the API key expire. That's also something that we have. But now let's create one. So here I'm going to create the API key. I'm going to say, for example, Prowler is great. We can set a number of days before it's expire. Let's create it. Again, here we have the API key to be copied. So you can just click here, and that's it. We have it. Then I'm going to acknowledge it, and there we go. We have it directly here, right? So another thing that we have is the documentation for the API keys. So we're going to have a link right here and under decoration that is going to send you directly to the documentation. So everything is going to be there if you want to find more. That's practically it from my side.
Cool. Thank you, Alan. I had some examples ready if someone wants to. Yeah, we have a question first. Max expiration time for the API key is 1 year. I think it is, right?
Exactly, it is. We're currently evaluating exactly that. It's exactly 365.
Okay, good. So I created here a couple of examples that I'm going to leave in the chat. So yeah, if someone wants to quickly play with the API keys, they can go to these Jupyter notebooks and just test them. It's on a branch, but they can download it and play with them. And of course, using or let me share to the API reference. So everything is ready on the chat. Okay, so it's time for the next demo because there is no slides here, so I have to do the transitions myself. So Sergio, go ahead, your time to shine.
Thank you, Andoni. Yeah, so I'm going to share my screen. 1 second. Here we go. We have a new provider for the next release for the 5.13. This provider is only available now in the CLI, but in the very next release in 5.14, it will be available in both API and the UI components. So as you can see here, the new provider is Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Whenever it's released, or if you use Prowler in the master branch, you can start looking at the checks as I did here with the L flag, and you can see that we have from compute service to event service to identity service. So we have like 13 services that we added. And why? Because as you may know, when we add a provider, we make sure that we are compliant and we are adding at least one compliance framework. In this case, it is CIS. So we can say that in the next release, we are going to be, we can cover in your scans CIS in the Oracle Cloud Provider, as you can see here. So if you want to test this new compliance framework in the Oracle Cloud, you can just do as always in the other providers. You can use the compliance flag, and the whole provider of Oracle will run against the CIS compliance framework. In this case, in Oracle, we are auditing by default all compartments. That means that compartment is like an account, it's like a resource group in Oracle. So by default, we are auditing all the compartments. But you can filter. Well, no, let me go to the help section of OCI. Yeah, you can filter the compartments IDs with the compartment ID flag, as well as the regions. By default, we are auditing every single region in all compartments. So when you launch your first scan in the CLI against the compliance framework, you can see all the services that we have, the compliance status for each single service, and as we have in the other providers, you can see a specific compliance status for the CIS. Of course, if you want to run it by itself without any compliance, you can use the Prowler OCI command, and it will run the 51 checks. In the case of CIS, we have the CIS has 50 checks, so that is why we are running 50 instead of the total 51 checks that we have. In terms of authentication, we use by default the profiles that you have in the config file of OCI, and you can either select your own config file if you have it in a different default path with this flag, and you can select which profile from your config file with the profile flag. This is similar as we have in AWS. Yeah, so this is the part of the CLI. I'm going to show you something that we are developing and we don't have merged yet in the master branch, but just for you to see it. I think it's this one. Yeah, it's this one. So as you can see here, this is of course in beta. We haven't merged it yet, so bear with me if we see any error. But we also have it in the UI because, as you may know, in Prowler we are aiming to add new providers as fast as possible and in the smoothest way in both API and UI. So in this case, all of our engineers are able to at least have a try to add the new providers in the UI and the API. So in this case, I did some testing and I was able to add the Oracle and the Oracle Cloud provider. So in this case, I already have added here my Oracle Cloud account, but for you to see how, oh my God, wait, of course, let me sign in again. 1 second. Here is the password. Here we go. I was already signed in to avoid this to happen, but of course, always something happens in life. But yeah, you can see here the overview page. So we have the new Oracle Cloud provider with all the features as the rest of providers. If you go to the findings page, you can see here all the findings that are from the checks that I already show you in the CLI. And when we release this, if you want to add your Oracle Cloud tenant, you can go here, put the ID of the tenancy. This is like a test UID. And then you have to put here the API key. These all attributes are the ones that OCI gives you when you create an API key from scratch. So you are not going to create anything on your own. Like all of these parameters are the ones that you can see either in your config file in the Oracle Cloud config file that you have in the local, or when you create an API key in the web UI interface, all these parameters are going to be shown. So once you add all these parameters, the user ID that has the API key, the fingerprint of the API key, the region, the default region of the API key, and of course the private key content. We are also allowing to set a passphrase if you have the private key encrypted, but by default, OCI gives you the private key unencrypted. And once you add all these parameters, you are going to have set the OCI account. And again, you are going to have the same findings that you have in the CLI. So yeah, I think I'm not missing anything. So any questions, any issues that you may have with this Oracle provider, of course, we are open for feedback. And bear with us because, again, this is the first version that we have of this provider, and we may have any issues that we didn't contemplate. But yeah, this is like an overview of the new provider. Let me stop sharing. And I think those were all the demos, right, Andoni?
Yeah. Thank you, Sergio. I had a question for you. As this is not one of the main providers like AWS, GCP, and Azure, anything developing the provider that you saw that it was like the biggest difference or a challenge compared to the other ones?
That's a good question. I would say it was quite similar with all the providers that we already have, because I think we already covered all of the different authentication methods, because we have a different one in GCP, a different one in AWS, a different one in Azure. So I don't think we are going to face any different one in terms of authentication methods, because for me, that is the most
Yeah.
difficult part always to face when I did a new cloud provider. But in this case, Oracle has a pretty good SDK. So it was pretty smooth to work with the SDK. And also the web interface is pretty clean. You understand all the concepts. So I would say it was pretty easy in that sense to understand a new cloud provider.
Yeah.
So yeah, the challenge was basically to uh, to translate that concept of Oracle into Prowler. But
Yeah.
we have a strong developer guide, as we already did so many cloud providers. In that sense, it was easier than other ones.
Yeah, I think it really helps when the SDK or the API reference is already clear, because when I added the Mongo one, it was really easy. It was also even easier because Mongo Atlas has less services or less things like to map out. So, okay, cool. Yeah, I was trying to check if we had any check parsing policies for permissions, because I know that Oracle has this different way to do permissions that look like human language instead of JSON.
Mm. Yeah, in the identity checks that we created, we are parsing the JSON file.
Oh, so you
But
can get them as JSON.
yeah, I mean, we can let me check the here. I'm checking a check that we have that. Yeah, we are checking the JSON policy in that
Oh,
case.
okay. Okay, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I didn't have time to check the code, and I was like wondering like how we were parsing that if it was like human language. But yeah, I
Yeah,
guess
we are
they
getting,
just move it to JSON underneath.
yeah, we are getting the statements of the policies. And then we are like getting the keywords of the statements and parsing them. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm going to share the link of one of the identity checks. Copy this one. No, it didn't copy. Here. No.
Okay. Cool. Perfect. Thank you, Sergio. So we have time. If there is any question or anyone wants to share anything else that has been working on lately, some surprise, like in the last one, Tony presented something I had as a surprise and he was faster. If anyone has been doing something cool or wants to open a conversation, it's the time. If not, it will be like a quick meeting today. Okay, perfect. Yeah, we will upload this to YouTube so you can watch the demos again. Thanks so much, Ben, for coming. And we'll see you like next month, probably 26th of November will be the next date. We need to confirm, but yeah, that's the tentative date. And of course, thank you all for coming and presenting, and see you next time.
See you guys. See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.